Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Guess what? It's like this spring ahead thing. Why are we still doing this? Why in God's green earth are we still doing the spring ahead? I hate this time of year more than anything. Fall behind, I don't mind because I'm like, oh, I gained a whole hour. But the spring ahead thing, this whole day has been whacking me out because I haven't changed all the clocks. So I really, at one point, I was like, oh, I still got an hour and a half left. No, I did not. I had like 30 minutes left. So I was like, oh, damn. I got to get my crap together. So anyways, we're here today. I have a very fun person on. His name is Terry. It's Terry, the real estate guy. That's how I say his name. I told him I was going to do that. And we're going to be talking about the market. We're going to be talking about the interest rates. We're going to be talking about what he sees in the market. He has a really good channel, very good channel. So you're going to have to check him out afterwards. So without further ado, let's go ahead and add a little bit of Terry. Terry. Hi, Terry.
Hey, Kristina. How are you?
Hola. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. I have been in real estate almost 20 years. Started out as a real estate agent and back in 2001, and then did
freaking realtors.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Old timer. And did real estate for about 16, 17 years, and then started an investment company. And so I own a company called Nice Guys Buying Houses now. And we buy houses all over the Southeast and fix them up and sell them and stuff like that. So
you're like a house flipper.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
I hate that term, but yeah, I use it all the time. I just like, it sounds so kind of, you just flip a house, but
shady.
For me,
is that what you're getting at? It sounds shady.
Yeah, it does sound shady. But for me, my grandfather was a builder. And when I was 9, he would take me through these neighborhoods and say, I built that house. I built that house. I built that house. And when I started my company, I was like, oh my gosh, I get to be that to my kids. I get to take them through and say, we fixed up that house and sold it to a nice family. That house is falling down, sold it to a nice family. But yeah, I'm a house flipper. Basically, that's what most people understand.
Do you rent them out? Do you flip them and rent them at all? Do you ever do any of that?
We keep 3 or 4 rentals a year. Yeah.
Yep. So how many you got total? Just 3 or 4, or
we have 8 rentals now. The problem right now is every time we think we're going to keep one as a rental, somebody makes us an offer that's too good to pass up, and we sell it.
We have 2 rentals that are around the corner from us, and we had one renter that couldn't pay anymore. So we decided to remodel it because they had a bong water problem. I don't know what they were doing with their bong water, but it's everywhere. So we have like totally redone everything. So whoever gets this house next is going to basically a brand new house. Cause we were like, we're going to go ahead and take down all the popcorn ceilings. We're going to go ahead and redo everything. So I can't wait to see it when it's done.
Yeah.
So the housing market, you saw my housing market video. And a lot of people don't agree with me that it's a hot mess because they're like, oh, I'm gaining so much equity in my house right now. And a lot of even investors are like, I'm not investing in this. This is unsustainable. So what give us some of your vast knowledge. Throw it to the people.
Well, I think the market is already in distress. I think you and I talked about that on the phone one day. It just doesn't seem like it's in distress because the rates are so low. But the market is in distress. I mean, buyers have no shot, right? It's not fair for buyers at all right now. And sellers, have lived in this kind of idyllic world of real estate for probably the last, 5-6 years. And so I feel good for the millennials right now. Like, they kind of got shut out of the last opportunity to buy property because a lot of those folks were graduating from college back then in 2008 to 2012. And just, they couldn't find jobs and all that kind of stuff. So now I feel like they're taking advantage of these rates. And, my take is as long as you're going to stay in that house 5 to 7, 10 years, ride the train of the low rates, but you're definitely paying a premium for the property. No doubt.
My contention with it is that you really have to be like a high-end buyer though, to be that millennial that can afford it. You can't be just, a school teacher and a, average worker. You really have to be making some serious cash in order to purchase a home. And that's what some of the experts are saying. Well, that's what makes it a strong market. And I'm like, it kind of blew my mind. And some of them are saying, well, investors like yourself should really just make a bunch of rental properties. The single family home is done, and that you should take your money and invest in like condos and stuff like that, and turn these people into renters instead of mortgage holders. Like, that's how do people build wealth then? You know
Right.
how, like, that's how the average American started off building wealth, is to own a little small piece of real estate. So
Yep.
I don't know, that just burns my butt. I
Well,
don't think that's the answer is what I'm getting at.
and just because, millennials and young people have rented for a long time doesn't mean they want to keep doing it. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody knows, it's widely known today that the best way to build wealth is real estate. Um, I mean, you think about it, I kind of ran some models. Like, if you paid $350,000 for a house and you got a 2.9 or 3% interest rate, I mean, at the end of the day, if you move in 10 years and you're going to stay local, your payment is so low that you're going to cash flow as a rental in 10 years anyway. Right. So
Mhm.
these houses, if you buy them now, there's no reason to even sell them in the future if you want to keep them as an investment vehicle.
Right. I've had people that they had a house, they had bought it, when they had gotten the first time home buyer loan the first time,
Mhm.
and they were about to buy another house. I'm like, "Do you need the equity in this house?" They're like, "No, not really." I'm like, "Hold on to that house and rent it out." Like, this is a great opportunity for you. They're like, "Really? You think so? I don't know if I can be a landlord." I'm like, "It's one house. It's right down the road. Keep the thing." And so a few of my younger clients have kept their other home just to do it. So I like it.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Who doesn't want $500, $600 a month in mailbox money? As long as you find the right tenant, right? That's the key, is getting the right tenant.
I've had some doozies. I've had
Yeah,
some good ones, but I've had some doozies too.
yeah,
The good ones you remember, but the bad ones you really remember.
yeah.
uh, John says, "I'm a millennial and I bought in 2009 for 465 in San Diego, California. Just paid it off last August. I'm 100% debt free thanks to Dave Ramsey."
Oh, that's awesome.
That is good.
Congratulations.
I can't say I'm debt free.
San
I always
Diego.
my dad is a director of finance, and he said it's good to hold on to some debt. Not
Yeah.
anything that's going to kill you, but it's good to hold on a little bit of
I
debt.
wonder what that house is worth today, John. Like, bought it in '09. That was right after, you know, right. Well, kind of, maybe that was a little bit before the dip. 2010, 2011, I think, is kind of where it
Yeah, it was
bottomed
starting
out.
to. Well, it's starting to scoot back up. It was
Yeah.
starting to scoot back up. But like right now, even the past year, I'm sure he's made some serious equity on that sucker.
Yeah. No doubt.
900,000, he says. 900,000.
Nice. Now,
Cash is king. Do you know what you
yeah,
should do with your equity? Buy rental properties.
that's what I was saying. Get a HELOC on it and just go
You
pay
can't
cash
get
for
a
rental.
HELOC. You can't. The major banks aren't giving HELOCs. Like, I don't know how many people have, because that was a suggestion I had given to some people when the pandemic had started, was that if you have equity in your home, you still have a job, but you're a little nervous and you need some extra cash, go ahead and pull out a HELOC.
Mhm.
And I got several emails saying their bank is no longer doing HELOCs. And I thought, well, what is that saying to us as a consumer? If the banks are so insecure about the equity we have gained in our house that they're
Yep.
not even allowing for HELOCs right now, that's a sign right there.
Yeah, that is a
Well,
little frightening.
uh-huh. I've decided not to look for a house right now. Prices are getting way out of line as far as I am concerned. How is it in the Atlanta area?
Yeah, we just got sold one last week that was, when we bought it, before we renovated it, we valued it at like 240, 250. We
Mhm.
sold that house for 30,000 more than what we thought it was worth when we bought it. So I think we listed it for 260 and we sold it for 280. And I mean
Wow.
and then we just got an offer today on a house in Greenville, South Carolina, that we listed for 265 and we just got an offer for 293. I mean, it's insane.
And like every time that I think it's gonna, like, oh well, this should stamp it down a little bit because the interest rates have crawled up just a scotch. I thought that would make some people like go, no, there's just so many buyers out there, and there's just not enough sellers. So if you're thinking about putting your house on the market, like really honestly, this is the perfect time to do it. You're gonna be kicking yourself in the butt next year if you haven't put it on the market now. But I worry about the equity and it's sustaining itself. I don't think it's sustainable, in my opinion. And in my opinion, I do want to share something that's totally it has nothing to do with the housing market other than I got vaccinated today. I got the new Johnson and Johnson one shot, get it done. Got that today.
Awesome.
I know, very exciting. But that would lead to my point is I believe that as more people get vaccinated, they're going to have more sellers that are more comfortable with having people in their home, and we might start seeing more of a supply coming to the market, and that could possibly help the housing prices go down, maybe a scotch, maybe a
Oh,
scotch.
that's a really good thought. I had never even thought about that. Yeah,
Well,
that's a great thought.
Well, because that was one of the reasons why they had said that the supply was so low is that people were, unsure about having people in their home. How many people are coming through? Are they really taking the real precautions? So they're like, I'll just wait. I'll just wait it out. But now that as more people are getting vaccinated, I think that people are going to start getting more comfortable with being able to have people on there. So let's see. John says, no HELOCs needed. Household income is $250,000. Just saving aggressively in case there's a housing correction.
Oh, that's awesome, John.
Well, no matter where the market goes, you're going to have your house paid for. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, it's a good thing. Oh, look, Eddie even gave a good thing. Smash the like button. Interest rates have no bearing on cash with buyers. Well, of course, with cash buyers, of course they don't. But that's only so many markets that are actually buying cash. Don't you agree? I mean, there's only you don't have a lot of California buyers coming into Atlanta, do you?
No, I mean, right now, the people that are coming into Atlanta, Atlanta's a big relocation market. So there always have been people, Fortune 500 companies moving people in and out of Atlanta. And so that has really stalled too. That used to free up a bunch of inventory. And in our local market, obviously Fortune 500 companies aren't moving as many people as they used to. And so people are staying here, staying put, not going downtown, not going in their offices. And so that's really kind of hurt the inventory to some degree in this market for sure. And in terms of the cash buyer, yeah, it's awesome to put cash down on a house. It really is. And, there's the Dave Ramsey method. But I, personally, I look at it. If I can get something that's 2.5%, I'm going to carry debt all day long and keep my cash in the bank.
You think like I think. Well, yeah, and you think like I think, because my dad, like I said, my dad is director of finance. He was the director of finance for the John Hancock for quite some time. Always stayed in the green, but he knew how to handle money. So he's always, believe it or not, this is even funnier. He always laughs about this. He actually has a mortgage on his house. He's like, I'm 80 years old and they gave me a 30-year mortgage. Boy, they got some high hopes.
I love that.
I know. It's funny, but sometimes it's you got to lay it all out. There's always a method that's right, right for everybody. There's a Dave Ramsey method. If that makes you feel good and you feel financially secure, that's fine. If there's other ways of doing it. It doesn't make it right or wrong.
Right.
So
yeah.
Just
for sure.
John said he smashed it. He smashed that like button. So you and I got on the phone and we got into discussion of the average person buying the average home. And we kind of got into heated discussion about it, but it wasn't heated in a good way because you ended up agreeing with me. So you want to throw in a little 2 cents on that?
Refresh my memory, kind of where we were on it. I remember the heated part was some guy that was saying everybody needs to just be renting. People don't want to buy anymore. I don't think that's true, but
yeah, that was his solution to the housing problem.
Yeah.
And his solution to the housing problem that we started talking about is that there's going to be a lot of commercial real estate that's going to be hurting, I believe, because there's more businesses that are going to take those offices way down. There's only going to be a certain amount of people they're going to need in the office all the time. But most people, I believe, they're going to send them home. So they're not going to want to pay for that space, the insurance, the air conditioning, the security, all that other stuff. They're going to have a core group of people that they'll always have at their main office, and they're going to have the majority of their employees working from home. So that's going to free up a lot of commercial real estate. So my idea, especially since there's a ton of malls and stuff, to turn these into condos that allow people to purchase them so they can own a piece of real estate. They'll be close to their jobs and to the cities and everything else that they need to be a part of, mass transit. So it'd be affordable. Basically, it'd be affordable housing that allows them to live the life that they need to, and they can get into real estate and have a little piece of the pie. My other suggestion with doing that is that government-backed loans for people that want to buy a condo for less than $65,000, because there's no government-backed loans for less than $65,000. But if they had offered that product for rebuilding commercial real estate areas, I think they would have a cash cow that would really help reset the affordable housing for the people that have good credit. They have good credit. They just don't have low income jobs. There's nothing wrong with their credit. They paid their bills on time. Why don't they allow for that? So give me your 2 cents, your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I definitely think the commercial market is hurting. Was it LaSalle Jones basically just piled a bunch of cash into roof stock to manage some sort of single family or residential portfolio for them. So you see these commercial companies that have historically been in commercial real estate now pivoting to residential real estate because it's strong. And it makes me wonder, those people employ a lot of high dollar economists. It makes me really wonder where this office space is going long term. I feel like as Americans, we have short memories. And how long is it, people get vaccinated, whatever, how long is it going to be until we're just kind of everybody's back to normal, right? They want people back in the high rises. So it'll be curious to see what happens. But if that's the case, absolutely. I think putting affordable housing, which is what everybody's talking about, right? It's affordable housing. There is no affordable housing. That would definitely create a way to have affordable housing, take some of those buildings and turn them. I mean, they would be heavy modifications, right? They weren't set up as residential structures to begin with, but if you could make them affordable, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest problem, is that like everybody gets a little corporate greed. But I think that if, and I've always said this, they've done this before in World War II, is that they offered plans for everybody to make money, so that way, they got to get the people coming back from war into affordable houses. They gave breaks for building materials. They gave breaks to the builders. They gave breaks. So everybody won in that situation. It's very possible. All you have to do is follow the blueprint from before, So we got a question. War and Peace. Question. Our local news channel just reported that the minimum wage worker to afford an average 2-bedroom apartment in Tucson, Arizona, you have to work 80 hours a week. How can we own a home? It's impossible to make it today. I empathize and sympathize with you immensely. The cost of living has exploded. And I mean, just going to the grocery store recently. I don't know if you've seen grocery prices. It's out of the roof. It's ridiculous. I'm like, even my kids are teenagers, and they were like, I just remember like 3 months ago, this would have cost like less than $100, and now it's $120. I'm like, if the kids notice, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's very bad. It's very bad. I don't know what the whole I don't know what the answer is. I'm hoping that people come up with some solutions, because rent is unaffordable. Buying a house is unaffordable. I talk about tiny homes and manufactured homes quite a bit, because that is kind of an affordable housing option, except for when you buy them brand new now. Because a tiny home that I showed just literally a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that was $35,000 is now $50,000 to $60,000.
Wow.
A tiny home. $35,000 is now $50,000 to $60,000, and it's not their fault, because building materials are so expensive.
Yeah, I mean, when the price of lumber triples, right, from a year and a half ago, that's a problem.
Yep. When will prefab homes come to our market near me? It depends on your local officials. I don't know if like prefab's a thing in your area.
I will be the first to jump on 3D printed houses when they come here. I saw that one in New York that was listed, and I bet I spent a whole evening on YouTube just checking out 3D printed houses and how they work. And I'm ready to jump on that bandwagon and build them. But you're right. it's a weird thing for the municipality because of the codes and all that stuff. But they say they've got that solved. So once that is the hurdle.
Right. But it would. I know that it would, like some people are like, oh, it's not going to meet the building codes in Florida because they have the cinder block, but it's
Mhm.
literally poured concrete. You're pouring concrete walls. Of course, it's going to meet the hurricane codes.
Yeah.
But it just, there's always a group of people that are like, this is not the way it's done because they've never seen it before and they get nervous. You just have to show them. That's all there is to it. There's plenty of communities out in Austin, Texas that have started. Icon is one of them that have done the 3D printed homes. Now that I've gotten this, I'm going to be getting in my car. I'm going to be traveling quite a bit and I'm going to visit some of these places. There's another manufacturing place that just opened up a modular place. You should meet me down in Florida. They're opening up a neighborhood that is a modular neighborhood in Florida. They just started. I got an email about that and I'm like, huh, that would be interesting. That'd be really cool. So
There's no reason we shouldn't be building houses in a factory, bring them and put them together on site. I mean, I
it's
don't
a thing
understand
in
why
Europe.
yeah.
It's a thing in Europe. I mean, like, it's really a thing. It's like not like it's unheard of. Like, we need affordable housing like we did in World War II vets. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Uh, interest rates do not make a difference for cash buyers, hires for interest rates. Yeah, we already went there. That is true.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I skipped. Sorry. Affordable housing is also related to income and location. May not be available to live in California or New York City if there's income problem. In California, they do allow for manufactured homes, not manufactured homes, but modular homes. In what they call it, so they're like the homes. They allow them because they don't have enough room. So they're telling people if you got a driveway, you want to rent out to a school teacher, go ahead and put one of these in. We'll give you tax credit.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
I've seen. Have you seen Ready Player One?
No, what's that?
It's some sci-fi movie, but in Ready Player One, I found this old housing magazine back in the day, and they showed in California they had mobile homes, but they were stacked on top of each other. Have you ever seen those pictures? Those old pictures like that? Like it was like they were building high rise of mobile homes.
I saw like a fake picture of that. I've seen like people like do that. we have people that put manufactured homes up on stilts and piers because of flooding. It's
Oh
a
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
but I've never seen them actually physically stacked on one. I
yeah.
haven't seen that.
I found an old housing magazine. I couldn't believe it. You know, it was in like Life magazine or something from the
That's
60s and 70s. Yeah, it's pretty.
all right. Let's see. Thank you for saying that, Kristina. Total violation for us working poor who pay our bills. Uh, this is the part that ticks me off. And I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a minute. There are people in this universe that have worked at their job for years, that have never missed a payment on anything in their life. They have consistently paid their bills. They just happen to be low wage earners. That does not make them any less of a person than anybody else. They should have the opportunity to be able to buy a house just like everybody else. There are homes here in our area that are less than $65,000. You can do that, but they can't get a loan. And they don't make enough money to pay for it cash. That doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't even make them bad at money. Maybe they're winning at life because this is what makes them happy. Why don't you give them the opportunity to be able to purchase a home?
Yeah.
Blows my mind. All right, off my soapbox again. Is there anything
in Greenville, South Carolina, where there's a lot of land still, they're putting in tiny house subdivisions. So there's been
you're joking.
There's 2 or 3 of them real close to Greenville, and 50, 100 homes each with walking trails and stuff like that. But the problem is that the tiny houses are $125,000, $150,000.
Shut up.
Which is not affordable, right?
Well, okay, so then they must be evaluating the land pretty expensive then, because the tiny home would only need a very small lot, very small, like just a sliver lot. If you're laying them down one right after another and making a community out of it, they must be valuating that actual piece of dirt pretty high, because the cost of actually building a tiny home isn't that bad.
Right.
It can't be that bad.
Yeah. I think they're pretty like luxury high end tiny houses with tile backsplashes and really nice appliances and things like that. But yeah, they're putting them in. I'll get you the names of them because I know you like doing some stories on tiny houses.
I will like take a freaking road trip this summer with my kid. And I
Awesome.
will go up through all these little areas, maybe like a 2-week trip, and just go film one right after another. That would be so fun.
And that's
We
the
gotta.
key, right? I mean, in Metro Atlanta, there's no land. Where Greenville, South Carolina, Huntsville, Alabama, there's tons of land. It's everywhere, right? But it's not in the big metros. It's really hard if somebody works downtown at a restaurant. It's really hard for them to kind of go way out and then come back in because, right, at that point, now you're watching $2.50 a gallon gas, at least in our market. So now all of a sudden, what you saved on a house, you're spending in gas. So it's like, where's the end,
Right. Well, that's why I keep saying if they're going to start closing up some of these, because a friend of mine who lives in Boston, he said some of the financial areas already starting to close up some of the buildings and everything. If they could turn that into residential real estate, then you wouldn't have to worry. People could buy in. Ooh, we got a storm. We got a storm going out here. So if you hear thunder and lightning, that's us.
Oh, wow.
Question: what is it too much money to offer over asking? Should I wait for corrections? You're gonna have to listen to your local real estate agent, and let me just explain to you. And you can put in your 2 cents too. Your real estate agent is going to tell you exactly what's going on in your specific market. If it's going to take $10,000 to get the house, listen to them. That's what you're able financially to do. This is not going to stretch out your budget and everything else. Like, you really have to think out this financial decision. If that's what they're telling you to win the house, then the $10,000, I know in people's mind, like, they're just telling me to offer more so they can make more commission. That $10,000 does not make a Philippines difference in our commissions. It really doesn't. After you pay your fees and all the stuff, it's pennies. So just listen to them. Want the house? Listen to your real estate agent. Terry.
Are you there, Kristina?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I'll weigh in on this too. So here's the problem. I think with people that are saying, "Hey, I'm going to sit on the fence," or "How much is too much to ask in this market?" I know this. Every time you add a percentage point to your interest rate, it decreases the housing affordability by 11%. Anywhere between 10 and 12% is kind of the way the numbers pan out. So, for example, if you're going to buy a $400,000 house at 3%, and the rate goes up to 4%, that now you're only going to be able to buy about a $370,000 house, right? So the affordability goes down as those rates go up. So just keep that in mind. People that are, and in terms of how much over ask, just run your payment. Make sure you run your payment and that you're comfortable. If you find a house that's like, I'm going to live there for 15, 20 years, if I want that house, I'm going to get the house of my dreams. If it works within the budget and the payment.
Program is free. I'm going to throw the question, and it can't remove the question that I have. I'll try and let you go ahead and read it. I can't remove this one. I'm trying to really listening.
Oh, am I the only one? Okay. Looks like Kristina's internet bailed her out. So I'm gonna jump in here. So hopefully that answered that question for you. When is it too much to over ask? If you wait for correction. So my take on it is a real estate correction is going to happen when we have rates go up. I've been saying that for years, that I believe the rates will go up, and then that's going to cause things to happen. So you have most markets right now are like one month of inventory, and 6 is considered a balanced market between buyer and seller. Nobody has an unfair advantage at 6 months of inventory. We have a long way to go until we get to that 6 months worth of inventory, right? So what's going to make us get to that 6 months? Because a lot of you are like, I want prices to fall before I buy. Well, that teeter-totter really isn't going to happen until we get 6 months, or rates go up to a point where that builds up to 6 months, if that makes sense to you, right? And so what you want to know is if I wait, what's going to cause inventory to build up to where prices will go down, so that it made it worth me waiting. And that, I believe with all my heart, that that's going to be interest rates. Okay. I think we did lose Kristina. Can y'all hear me? If so, say something in the comments and I'll figure that out. Y'all still there? Okay, great. Awesome. Any other questions there? The rates. Oh, this is Kristina. Hold on. Hey, Kristina.
Yeah, I have no power.
Oh no, your power went out. Oh my goodness. Do you want me to put you on speakerphone?
Oh, is it still running?
It is. Yeah, it's still running. Yep. They can all hear us. Yeah. George Zubek says you're running the show now. All right, hold on. I'm going to put you on speaker, and then they can hear you on the mic. All right.
Let's pull up some questions, because I know you can't hear it. So hold on.
All right.
Yeah.
Can you see them?
I'm going to go ahead and pull it up from my phone here.
Can you all hear Kristina if I turn her up and hold her up to the microphone? Somebody says how to qualify for a foreclosure. If there are any foreclosures, you don't have to qualify for a foreclosure. A lot of foreclosures, though, they require all cash purchases. So you have to have all cash if you're going to buy a foreclosure, typically. Check with your local county.
This is hysterical. It actually froze right at the part where you're holding up the phone. Wow, you're holding up the whole deal. That is so funny. Let's see if I can get any kind of signal when I go outside, because there's nothing. I have nothing here.
See if there's any other questions in here. I'm looking.
Let's see if there's any more questions that we can throw up there.
Jay Sanchez says, my husband and I want to buy a rental. What do you think, Kristina? What are some good tips on buying a rental right now?
I think that if you can find a rental with a HUD foreclosure, you're going to be better off. You're going to be saying that you're using this as your primary residence when you buy it from HUD, and go ahead and find yourself a HUD certified foreclosure. Oh, but Terry, you know what I want to tell you?
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but in a lot of major cities like Austin, Texas, and even in New Orleans, and even in like Dallas, some of the bigger corporations that are coming in, what they're doing is they're going to the auction houses and buying the foreclosures. You know, they're always bidding over, because those big corporations, they have another name of the company that buys the houses, and then they're renting them back to their employees. I'm like, oh my gosh, so you employ them, you buy up all the houses so they can't get a house, and now you're going to rent that house back to them? I mean, it's genius, but it seems pretty shady.
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me, in Greenville, there were all these cotton mills. It was the textile capital of the free world for a long time. And they had a mill, right? The mill owner would also be in real estate. He would be in the grocery store. It was kind of like this indentured servitude, because they controlled the housing, they controlled the groceries, they controlled the pharmacy, they controlled the schools. It was crazy.
I know. And like, they did this before. An old mining company did this, where basically you could work for them, but you know, they knew that there wasn't enough affordable housing. So they made all the little houses, and your part of your paycheck literally came out with all the living expenses that you had too. So when you got your paycheck, it was already deducted. It didn't work out too good, especially when the company failed. Like, where do these people go? They have nowhere to live.
Right. Hey, the mental vet investing, he asked a question. He said, do you feel the recent mortgage hikes will help cool the current market?
I'm hoping so. I like even that moment that it had gone up just a little bit. It seemed like my phone stopped ringing as much, but then like literally 3 days later, it's back to where it was before. I think people are now kind of panicked because if they go up any more, they're kind of trying to get in before they go up, towards 5%. But there's no doubt that interest rates are going to have to go up. They can't stay this low forever. I think they'll go up high, the market will tank, and then they'll drop them again. Even Grant Cardone, I don't know if you ever heard of that guy.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of him, but that was one. When he said that, I was like, what is he talking about? Then I looked into it, and I'm like, you know what? I agree with him. Totally agree with him. Because it's unsustainable market.
Oh, let's see here. Chris asked this question. What is your opinion for an expensive area, condos selling for $2 million with major homeless population problem? What is the future going to be like for Venice Beach, California? Oh, you brought up Venice Beach last week, I think,
Yes, I did. Yeah. There was one of the few areas in the United States that actually declined in price, Venice Beach, California, because they have an extensive homeless problem. Now, one of the things that they've been doing, that they've been, because a lot of homeless end up going to the park and go to the park benches. Well, they've kind of basically put up these little villages of like tiny homes for the homeless. They're going to have to make these a lot better because honestly, they put them behind these chain link fences. It really isn't really appealing, but it's almost like, let's just take the, like the undesirables and put them behind this cage and no one will ever notice. We're just going to put all this chain link and make it look fancy. They're trying it. I'm like, I don't think it's going to work. I think this was poorly planned, but at least they're making an effort to try to help with the homeless problem that's out there. I don't know if you've ever been to that part of California, but they're homeless laying on every vent. It's pretty bad. So yeah, they're working on it. I'm hoping that they do something to help to alleviate the situation, because I know people that have purchased homes out there and they don't want their value to drop.
Right.
We'll see.
All right,
it'll come back. I think it will come back. It always does. It's a beach, for goodness sakes.
Oh yeah,
California.
No kidding. This is an interesting one because I'm kind of in the middle of this one. Island Knights asks this question. Cost of construction has escalated. Will this fact alone keep house prices from falling? This is a danger zone for home builders right now, because we're building 3 new houses in the Atlanta, Georgia area. And our lumber package, literally, I got a call from our builder, and the lumber package alone went up $3,600. And here's the problem, right? Let's say a builder builds a house today at accelerated prices. And then let's fast forward 3, 4, 5, 6 months. That house is nearing completion, but the supply of lumber, the supply of windows, because people are back working in the factories and all that stuff, all the supply starts to come back, the supply chain starts to fill up, and it drops prices back down to where they were pre-COVID. Now, all of a sudden, you have a builder that spent 15, 20% more building his house, and you have these other builders that are coming into the market starting to build a house that are building it for 20% cheaper. The question then really is what's going to play out and be really interesting to see is, are there going to be builders left holding the bag at these higher cost to build houses coming 6 months, 8 months down the road?
Do you know what they're doing? And this has been happening in California. It hasn't happened here, but what they've been doing is you make a contract for a certain amount of money. But if the price of lumber or anything like that goes up where the house is more than they estimated, they can say to you, look, I know we made a contract for this much, but the price has increased this much because of building materials. Either you want the house or you don't, because this is how much it is at the closing table.
Interesting.
And they've been doing it. They've been doing it in California. When I heard that, I was like, you got to be kidding me. She's like, no, they had to come up with an additional $35,000. Like, what do people do if they don't have it? She's like, they don't get a house.
Wow.
Like, that sucks.
Yeah, you can't even lock in the price on a brand new house now. That's terrible.
No. No, and I mean, I haven't seen it here in our area in Louisiana. That has not been a thing. We had a problem with roofing materials here for quite some time, and with lumber, but it seems to be alleviated. There's a lot more new construction happening again where it was frozen. So that will help our little market here.
Yeah. All right.
Do we have any other questions?
We do. Yeah, there's a lot of questions coming in now. It's awesome. Let's see. Jay Sanchez says, should we refinance as we have 80,000 on loan to go at 4%? Is it worth it? So you have 80,000 on the loan to go and it's at 4%. Is it worth it to refinance that $80,000 right now?
What's your opinion?
I would say probably not at this point. I mean, if you were lucky enough to get that 2.75 rate, or if you want to go, maybe you want to go to a 15-year mortgage, and those rates are still 2.6%. Maybe you would look into a 15-year loan. It just depends, Jay. I don't know what your first name is, but Mr. and Mrs. Sanchez, it just depends on how much time you have left. I mean, right? If you're at the end of your loan cycle and you're at 4%, you're paying down mostly principal right now anyway.
Exactly.
So I might just kind of stay right where I'm at. It's going to cost you $3,000 or $4,000 to refinance.
Yeah, people don't calculate that too. They forget that there actually costs to refinance your house. Yeah. And a lot of times the people making those loans don't really express that to you either, because they just roll that amount into the loan package itself. So it costs to refinance. And then, like Terry said, if you have only a little bit of time left and it's $80,000, just go ahead and pay down the principal. This is the time of your loan. At the end, it's when you do pay the most in principal. At the beginning of a loan, that's all you're doing is paying interest. Yeah. The whole thing. The people don't understand amortization. That's maybe that would be a good video for you, Terry.
Oh yeah, no kidding. If you're at the end of it, stay in it. You're almost done.
Yeah.
Let's Warren Peace. Oh, this is a good one, Warren, because I've got a funny story about this. Is buying land and building a tiny home a realistic venture for escaping rent and owning something? We were just trying to hire someone on our team, and this gal I interviewed, she moved to someplace in Texas and bought like 3 acres, put a tiny home on it, and is living really, really lean. Yes, that's exactly what she's doing. She found a little town. It's about an hour outside of Austin, Bertram, Texas. And that's what she did. And yeah, absolutely. You can escape rent and own something. And I think tiny homes are here to stay. Don't you, Kristina?
Absolutely. And another thing is even you can buy a small manufactured home and buy a piece of land and move out there in the middle of Texas, or, there's plenty of places here in Louisiana that are manufactured home, tiny home friendly. The problem that we have when you get closer to bigger cities, I'm sure Austin is like this. Maybe they're not, because they do have some tiny home towns, but like near Baton Rouge, even outside of Baton Rouge, Livingston, you can't have a structure that's less than 600 square feet. And of course, a lot of tiny homes are like 400 square feet, even less. So they're going to have to just reevaluate that in the years to come. They've been talking to people more and more, because it's becoming something that people are very interested in. So I think it's a great way to get out of the rent cycle, especially since there isn't enough homes to rent in the first place. Like somebody said earlier, they can't even find a place to rent or afford a house over there in Arizona. So I think it's an option that local officials really need to address.
Lon Moore. Yeah, that's right, Lon. It was Bergstrom, Texas, an old Air Force base, he says. And then Sundancer said she just did this in North Georgia with a little cabin. She needs $600 a month to live. That is awesome. Congratulations.
That is wicked good. And a lot of retirees, that is probably one of the things that surprises people about the videos that I do about tiny homes is the person that watches the most people watch that video are people that are heading into retirement age, where they want a little place that they can say is their permanent residence, their home to retire, but they can get in their RV and travel. So they have like a permanent residence, it's a tiny home, and then they can go home and they can get in their RV and travel around, and they're living more of a debt-free lifestyle.
That's good stuff. If you could see me, Kristina, I look like Moses I think it was Moses in the Bible story where he had to hold his arms up the whole time, because I got the phone right up here. The microphone's awesome. MK's got a great question. Once and if the foreclosure moratorium is lifted, what's your prediction on home prices? My guess is probably what's your prediction on if the foreclosures are going to impact home prices?
Once it's lifted, nothing's going to happen at the beginning. It takes months for people that haven't paid their mortgage to be able to be evicted. They have to go through that whole process. It can take as little as 6 months. It can take as much as, I've seen one that was around the corner that took 5 years before it actually went back on up for sale. So my prediction is if there's going to be a wave of foreclosures, we're not going to see them until the earliest would be the end of 2022, but we're looking into 2023, 2024 to see a wave of forbearance foreclosure type properties.
Yeah, and I did some research on this too. I believe that only 2% of mortgages are underwater in some way, shape, or form. And my guess is that I don't know what the number is in terms of how far underwater. I can't imagine very far, right? So people that have equity in their houses that can't make payments, they just pass more stimulus and all this other stuff that's kind of dealing with the housing market. There are all kinds of rules that Fannie and Freddie have now to help people, kind of like they did back in the Great Recession. And so even offering like really great interest rates. I don't know if you saw this, Kristina, but government-backed loans, like if you can still make your payment, according to I think it was the FHFA, I'm not sure, Federal Housing Finance Authority, basically, or HUD, actually, HUD put this stuff out. And there was a 22-page document, and the 22-page document kind of talked about the different containers they have for people that are struggling during the pandemic, whether they're in forbearance or not forbearance. But like, it's unbelievable. Like if you bought a house 6 years ago, it sounds like to me, you can refinance at a lower rate simply because of this program.
Wow. Well, that's good to know. But the thing is that I don't know if you were selling real estate at this time when they did those original forbearance programs in 2008, 7, and 8, and all that. They were like balloon payments. They're like, yeah, you can do the forbearance, but we're not going to tack it to the end. You'll get 3 months off, and then after those 3 months are up, you owe us that whole entire amount. And people really got messed up. Then they were forced to do the loan modification loans because they didn't think about tacking it to the end. They weren't going to do that. They wanted that balloon payment. Yep. They would kind of mess themselves up by doing that. If they had just did it this way, I think they learned their lesson. I think they've learned their lesson. But not all loan packages are the same. So you're definitely, if you took the forbearance, double check with your loan provider exactly what the rules are for forbearance with your specific mortgage, because not all loan packages are the same. So definitely check on that.
Yep. And I have links on my channel to that 22-page document as well. I wish I could remember what video it was in, but it's in one of the videos. I'll try to find it and send it to you, Kristina. That way you can post it on your channel. Might be helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. Somebody said there are 10 million homes in forbearance right now. Yeah, there are. I don't know what the exact number is. I haven't checked in the last few days, but I don't believe that's going to translate into 10 million foreclosures for sure. I think.
But this is the This is the highest number since the last Great Recession in housing. This is the highest number they've had in forbearance since the Great Recession last time. So. And I think something to think about.
And I think what we're seeing as a house buying company is we're buying houses from people that are sick and tired of owning. And so they're either getting out while the getting is good, right. and they're gonna turn into renters, or they're gonna go buy a tiny home in the woods somewhere, or they're gonna buy an RV and travel the country. Right? There's all kinds of different things, but the people we're buying houses from are just tired of owning and having to deal with the headache. So, out of those 10 million in forbearance, most of those people, a really high percentage, still have equity in their property. So they could sell. Now, it'd be nice if a couple million of them decide to put their house on the market. If that was the case, we'd have about 3 months worth of inventory, you know.
I know.
Oh, so it's a good.
I got power back.
Oh, good. This is a good one right here. At what mortgage rate will prices start to come down? Oh, that is an awesome question.
Oh my God, here we go. I think I'm gonna be able to come in.
All right, you want me to answer that one while you're trying to log back in?
Yeah.
Albert, I think honestly, I think it's going to be somewhere between 4 and 5%, 4.5%, 5%. You're going to see. I think you'll see prices start to come down yet. It takes a little while. It takes the stacking of inventory for the prices to come down. But remember what I said, for every percent you go up in interest rate, it impacts your affordability by 11%. So all that's the simple version of that. I'm going to hang up the phone. Hey, she's back. Woohoo! That's awesome. The simple version of that is that basically take 11% off the price every time your rate goes up 1%.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But you won't see those prices start to fall until the demand tapers off. I mean, even if it still goes to 5% and the housing market is still supercharged, I don't see that happening, honestly. But
I was going to say that's dreaming.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like the thing is that people are so frustrated, and that when that happens, when you have that level of frustration, there are people that just give up. They get to the point where they just give up, and then slowly but surely, then the housing prices go back down. Terry, I'm like super impressed you've been like holding down the fort.
I was like, this is what I was doing right here. I was like,
I'm so thank you so much.
Awesome.
I know. Well, that's I was telling you it was raining so bad here. Like, who knew?
Yeah, you said a storm was coming, and it started. You sound like Britney Spears in the '90s there, and I was like, is her video feed going out? And then you were just gone.
Yeah. It's still pouring out here.
I don't know how to bring them on the screen. That's the one thing I couldn't figure out.
I think it's only on my side, but at least yeah. Let's see. Government won't fail the market, otherwise they won't get reelected. Well, they always seem to say big business before they save the little guy, though. You know, they had no problem with foreclosing on all those people, and they wouldn't let the banks fail. They didn't help what does the government take care of? Business. Yeah. They don't take care of us. How does the upcoming inflation affect the housing market? Does it seems like people trust the real estate rather than the dollars? No, more and more investors they're taking their liquid assets and buying real estate. So you're an investor. What do you think? Tell us, Terry.
So this is something I've got a bunch of things I want to read about, and I haven't experienced. I'm 52. I haven't experienced inflation since I was in high school, and my parents were talking about high interest rates and stuff. So I wasn't paying any attention back then. Excuse me. So I don't know. I mean, there is an advantage to putting it in real estate, but I don't know if that could backfire. And that's the thing I want to know as an investor myself. Is putting money in real estate. I only have money in real estate. I mean, as silly as that sounds, but I invest in what I know, and I know real estate. So, I'm a little concerned that we're stockpiling money in real estate, but is that the right thing to be doing?
Do you need water, Terry? Go get yourself a water. Since you okay, you held down the fort for me. I'm going to hold down the fort for you. I'm going to be honest, Terry. A lot of most of our financial investing is in real estate as well. And I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't a real estate agent. I didn't even realize how important it was. My dad always said it was a risky thing to do. But then I saw so many people, like, obviously it's not that risky, when you see so many people. And then, the housing market started collapsing. He's like, see, it's risky. I'm like, but these people are still making a ton on rent. So it's not as risky as you have it in your head. I think a lot of that comes from fear. When people don't know anything about it, they fear real estate, but it's a good thing. We
should all be studying about inflation right now because we're in it. I mean, I'm feeling it when I'm building houses, when I'm filling up my gas tank, when you're going to the grocery store, like we're in the middle of it.
All right. I'm going to see if I can pull up this out of all things, a TikTok, but this girl, I'm going to see if she did this TikTok, and it was so good. She was talking about how this happened in Germany. Very, very similar scenario where they had this V-shaped recovery. And then, eventually the interest rates were, let me find the video because I'm going to find it because it was of such a good explanation. I wanted to look into it some more before this. Here we go.
Michael Burry is best known for foreseeing the financial crisis of 2008. If you've seen The Big Short, that movie is about him. He recently posted a thread on Twitter saying that the U.S. government is inviting inflation, primarily due to the increase in the debt to GDP ratio, the increase in the money supply, coupled with the V-shaped recovery in retail and manufacturing, with additional inflationary pressures coming from the stimulus package and reopening, and supply chain and employment inefficiencies. He then goes on to compare this to what happened in Germany from 1914 to 1923, in which Germany had hyperinflation. Before that happened, everything was fine in Germany. Prices were fine, stock market was booming, the German mark was very strong, businesses that shouldn't have been open were open and profitable. People began to speculate, everyone started playing the stock market to the point where the financial industry could not keep up, and this was backdropped by growing inequality. This all sounds a little familiar. Eventually, it all came to a boiling point in Germany, hyperinflation. And Burry thinks that is where we are. And Burry says he's warning us this time. Michael Burry is best.
Okay, so this is the guy who predicted the last collapse of the economy, and he's warning us again about hyperinflation. So I haven't dug into what she's saying very much, but it is a real tweet. I genuinely looked it up. He is specifically pointing out to the facts and how we have a blueprint of this happening to us again. So it'd be interesting to see if he's right. Okay. Question. Are you online property evaluators accurate? Checking on my property and was curious. No. What do you say, Terry?
Yeah, no, I get with a real estate agent and have them run comps for you. Yeah.
The evaluator is just basically a guesstimate. It's literally like it has a satellite image, knows how much your square footage is. It takes an average of the cost of everything that's sold around your area. And they're saying, well, it's probably could be about this. It has no idea if you've added like really good upgraded solar panels. It has no idea if you have a swimming pool. It has no idea if you've, gutted it and put down hardwood flooring. They don't know how much that will increase your area. It's not an appraisal. It's a guess. It's a computer algorithm guess, but generally, especially in our specific area, in this little Hoboken town, terrible guesses. Terrible guesses.
Did you see like figures put there? He did a rate modification with his bank last week. They charged him only $1,300 and his new rate was 2.875. I wonder what his rate was before. That's awesome.
I was just going to say, wow.
That's part of all that stuff that I mentioned earlier is the banks are willing to work with you because they're incentivized to do so.
Warren Peace wants to know, where is the place in Florida with the tiny home village? I got an email. I wish I'm really bad about like keeping up with stuff like this, but as soon as I know, and I'm on my way. I'm going to be making community posts on my next trip because I'm literally going to get in a car and I'm just going to go to all these places, bring my cameras and go because I think it'd just be so cool to check out as many like tiny home, innovative, affordable housing options as possible. And now all I have is 10 more days. 10 more days. I just got this morning. Just 10 days and I'm back to humanity. I'm so happy. Okay, hold on. 30-year fixed rate mortgages, high inflation environment is effectively shorting the dollar. What do you say, Terry?
What was a 30-year fixed rate mortgages in a high inflation environment is effectively shorting the dollar? That's above my pay grade on that one.
I didn't understand the question or the statement. So
you're borrowing your money for not a lot of money, right? So a low interest rate. Yeah.
What do you think of people cashing in their 401k to get real estate?
Oh boy, it just it depends. So inside your 401k, so if you do a self-directed, is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's okay. So during the CARES Act, there were people that because there was no penalty.
Right.
So you could borrow against your 401k to survive, basically.
Mhm.
All you had to do is state the fact that you were affected by COVID, and you could borrow against your 401k. Well, a lot of people that were smart took that as like, well, it's pretty much free money. I'm going to use this for a down payment on a house, which was pretty smart. A lot of
Yeah.
investors did it as well. But then that has expired. You can't do that anymore without having a penalty. But other people are like, well, what am I doing with this money anyways? I might as well invest in real estate because my friend did it. How do you feel about that?
So, I mean, I think if you don't take it out and you invest inside your 401k, the problem is you don't get to take depreciation inside. It's not going to there's no depreciation benefit inside your 401k. So, you want to pay the penalty to take it out to go invest in real estate. Personally, I wouldn't do that. I would say there are some things that you can do inside your 401k to invest in real estate. You could partner with someone in real estate. Let's say you want to buy a rental property with a friend. Maybe you could provide the financing for it. Maybe you could buy it 50-50 with your friend or your investment partner or whatever. So, a lot of people, and because I run a house flipping business, a lot of people will just loan it to us at a preferred return in a first mortgage situation. So the house is the collateral. Whatever you do, I would talk to your CPA. I would talk to your investment advisor and just see what they think.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And run the math.
Not everybody's financial situations can be the same. I think if you're at the end of your years and you're thinking about doing this, you really need to weigh it out. You really do need to weigh it out. The younger people, you got a lot of time to be filling in that 401k. And if this is something you want to do, I was totally against it at first, but the more I talked to some mortgage lenders, and they're saying, look, they got another, 25 years to invest in their 401k. Let them borrow the money against it so they can get a house. I'm like, okay, explain to me why. And they did. And they put it out on paper. I'm not a numbers person, but they put it out on paper and how much they would gain in equity from a house, even through the ups and downs, and how much they could possibly gain ups and downs through a 401k. And they would actually make more in an investment by taking that money out and buying real estate. I was like, well, that's good to know. Well, good. I've had a couple bids, and it's an emotional roller coaster. It's backing off until there's more supply to put, and putting my money into a BTC and gold, Bitcoin and gold. Got an RV instead. A lot of people have been doing these vans. Fascinating. Have you seen this?
That's my weakness, is van life. If anything, van life. I mean, I envy these, I call them kids. I mean, they're in their 20s and early 30s that are out touring the world, working from a Sprinter van conversion. My wife and I, when my daughter gets out of high school, we want to travel the country in an RV. It'd be so fun. Yeah.
My parents did that for 2 years and then realized they never want to do an RV again. I know people that do vans, and they're not in their 20s. There's people that, if you go on Clubhouse, which is I don't know if anybody knows what this is, but it's like a walkie-talkie type thing where you get all these people, and there's all sorts of rooms of people that have converted vans into full-on living quarters.
Yeah, they're basically really cool. Tiny homes, right? On the road.
Mike figures it's Pie Day. Did you know today was the day of pie?
Oh, it is. No, I did not.
You didn't know that?
I didn't. No.
Yeah, today's Pie Day.
My kids usually keep track of that, but I forgot.
My daughter works at a pizza place, so she's the one that told me. Okay. Is there a scenario where inflation keeps going up and the high prices slow down, but don't come down even with raising interest rates? Is there a scenario where inflation keeps going up and the house's prices slow down, but don't come down even with the raised interest rates?
I wonder if the housing prices, does he mean don't come down or slow down? Because there's always a give and take with every housing market. You have them where they will
go up in price and they'll go down. Like whenever it seems like the housing prices are a lot lower, that means the interest rates are a lot higher. Sometimes you can find that ultimate prime time where the interest rates have dropped and then you end up getting it, the prices were still low as well. I mean, buying and timing the market, sometimes you're going to end up driving yourself crazy to try to find the optimum time to purchase a house. I always say, if you have the ability and that that this mortgage payment isn't going to kill you, have 6 months reserves of if you were to lose your job, that you could still pay your mortgage. You have other investments. You're not strapping yourself. You're not making yourself house poor. Then buy yourself a house. But of all of those things, you don't have 6 months of reserves. This is stretching you out. You don't know if you're going to have a job next month. Don't buy a house. Just don't. Whether you have a 401k to put down the down payment or not, don't buy it.
Yeah, don't. I just sold houses for 17 years, and I really felt bad for the people that were just buying just to buy, and they were stretching their last nickel to buy a house. Don't do that, because air conditioners break down, roofs get leaks. I mean, if you don't have the ability to repair the place, keep renting.
Exactly. And if the rent in your area is much cheaper than a mortgage, then keep renting. I mean, I know that seems odd and counterproductive for a real estate agent to say, but if renting a house is a lot cheaper than owning it, then rent a house. Question: 100K cash to invest in real estate, crypto, or stock market. Best advice based on the current market expectation, inflation. Thanks. I'm not a financial advisor, but this is what I would do. What would you do, Terry?
I don't own any stocks or any crypto. I only own real estate. So that's an easy one for me. But again, I know I missed out on, you miss out on a lot of big stock run-ups. I'm all in on real estate and have been since I basically went broke in the last recession. And I just said, I'm only going to invest in what I know. I took a kind of a Warren Buffett quote and just ran with it.
Mine is do it all. Invest, take some of the money, put a down payment on a rental property. Take some of that money and invest it in some crypto. Take a little bit of that money and invest it in the stock market. That way you have 3 working incomes that if one of them falls apart, you're not losing everything. What do you say?
Yeah. Diversify.
The mental vet investing question: what will it take for appraisals to mean anything? A correction? Okay, so I know people hate the appraisers, but honest to God, they're just doing their jobs. They literally have, now don't get me wrong, I've had my fair share of crappy appraisers, but they are taking a group of numbers and the data doesn't lie. So in those group of numbers, in the last 3 months, if the houses have gone up $30,000 and this one is maybe $33 more, then they're going to make it that amount of money because they're like, obviously the market can support this, and they will keep increasing and appraising for that value. But regardless of what the appraisers say, these home buyers, if it does not make appraisal, will still pay what it hasn't made, which has happened many, many, many times. I've seen it. I had a client do this. In order to get the house, she paid that woman on top of the money because it didn't appraise for the amount that she purchased the house for. So you can't blame the appraisers.
You think about it, appraisers, right? Their job is basically to determine value, like you said. Appraisers have never seen a market like this either. They've never, I mean, in our market in Atlanta, Georgia, we never see 15 offers on a house. One agent sent over a text that said, "Thank you. We received 180 offers on this house." 180 offers. What do you even? How do you even process that? 180 offers. So the appraisers, you're right. I mean, their job is to determine value for the bank first and foremost, and the values are going up. Their job is to kind of follow the market up.
Well, data doesn't lie. That's actually a quote from Daryl Eves. He always says, "Data doesn't lie. The numbers are the numbers," and their job is not to make the banks look terrible, and they want to make sure they're covering their rear end. So they're going to say exactly how much they believe that house is worth by the numbers. They verify it with those numbers. Now, there was some kooky stuff that did happen years ago with appraisers, but they've cleaned up the nonsense, and banks can't use their specific appraiser anymore. They have to rotate out through appraisers. There isn't the guy they have under their shoulder anymore, Hey
Yeah.
guy, let's go ahead. And there's none of that anymore, which is a good thing. A lot of people didn't like that, but it's a good thing. Inflation numbers have tripled, and Powell is talking about inflation up just a little. Yeah, just a little, just a scotch. Let's see what else we got here. Anybody else want to throw some more questions before we shut down the stream? I really Terry, I wanted to tell you how much I appreciate you. Nothing shook you up. You're like, hey man, we got the phone. We're gonna handle
Well,
this.
I wasn't sure if it was you or if it was me, and then I saw the comments, and they were like, I think, yeah, somebody said you're up. You're in charge now. I was
You're
like,
in charge.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, so we have a generator here. So I have to wait for the generator to kick in and warm up and everything to start back up again. And once it did that, then I was able to.
Oh, this is good. Well, Jason Kincaid had a good question here.
All right.
About the commissions.
So, do you believe that real estate agents' commissions of 6% will be reset soon as banking 6% into asset transfers over time is going to be a big problem? We don't the commission rates are always negotiable. There's no set rate for how much a real estate agent will charge you for a real estate transaction. And also know those 6%, if you have a 6% listing agreement, 3% goes to that listing agent, 3% goes to the buyer's agent, generally. So in the commission rates are always negotiable, no matter who's sitting at your table listing your property. If they say, well, my price is 6%, you can always negotiate that price.
Can I speak into that real quick?
Have at it.
Here's the problem. Like real estate agents, they work nights and weekends when sellers and buyers are off work, right? And that's when they see houses and show houses and write contracts on houses. And then real estate agents transact business during the day when the banks and the closing attorneys are open. So they're constantly running around with their hair on fire. In a normal market, forget about this market, they need like medication and counseling and stuff like that in this market, but because it's so crazy. The problem with real estate agent commissions is we all would like to go work for a broker and have them pay us what we're worth. But the commission model is what it is because brokers don't want to have payroll. And so then real estate agent commissions come up to figure out the market kind of dictates, as Kristina said, dictates the commissions. They are negotiable, 100% negotiable, but they seem to settle in 5% in some markets, 6% in others. What I tell people all the time is when I sold real estate, let's take Kristina, you get on your listing, you get to keep 3% of that commission. The other 3 goes to the buyer's agent, right? Uncle Sam's getting one of those percentage points, 33%, right? That's who they get. So now you're left with 2. And out of the 2, another point is going towards your broker because they want to make money and marketing expenses. So you're really left with a 1% commission at the end of the day. A good real estate agent is only left with 1% commission at the end of the day, is the way that all splits up.
Bingo. Yeah. That was a very good breakdown. Very good breakdown. I always say half of it is gone. Like before it even hits my warm little hand, it's half of it's gone. That you got to pay your insurances and all other stuff.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, Zillow and all these other companies are waging war on real estate agents and their commissions. But at the end of the day, local market knowledge is priceless. It's very difficult for a giant hedge fund backed corporation to take someone and have Kristina's knowledge, my knowledge of the local marketplace. It's almost impossible.
So you could go to the local you could go to like the local Walmart marketplace to buy your groceries, or you can go to the nice Whole Foods to buy groceries. So you go with the Zillow model. I don't know. I'm just saying, but with a bigger branch of lower commissions, I'm saying that's kind of like the Walmart brand of real estate. And then you got the ones that have been doing this for a while that have made this their business, heart and soul. Then you're going to the Whole Foods of real estate. That's how I look about it. What about home equity for home buyers buying in this market now? What are you guys seeing in your market? I've had friends whose whole property taxes have gone up every year. Some areas of property taxes, like in Austin and stuff, have like exploded. But we can't here. I don't know how it works in your state. Every state's going to be different, but we can't go up even if we gained like $1 million. They can only go up incrementally in property taxes for our area. How is it for you guys, Terry?
It's the same. There are some markets I think that get kind of locked in, but in ours, it does go up incrementally. They basically do the county assessor does an update every year on the price of our houses, and then they base it on a formula. So it doesn't go up a ton, but it goes up.
Yeah, it does. Kathleen, my property taxes have doubled in Dallas, Texas in 6 years. And I've heard Austin is like that as well. And then they added a new tax. I have a friend, and his name is Jeremy Knight, and he's talking about this ridiculous tax that they added on there. I don't know enough about it, so I won't speak on it. But he's like, Austin, I don't even know why they voted for it. But sometimes when they name certain bills, you think you're voting for one thing, but if you actually read the bill, you're like, that wasn't what that said.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Mortgage brokers are done when smart AI rolls out next year. The whole market will pivot. There are 2,000 agents in Corday Allen ID and 28 homes for sale.
Oh,
this sector will be flushed. Oh, okay. The sector will be flushed out and changed. Do you know, like, since I've been in real estate, I literally have seen the complete evolution. I walked into real estate. Just to have a computer at your desk was a big deal. You actually had to physically sit at a desk and make cold calls at a desk. You had an office phone line. You sent out faxes. You dropped off, deposit checks. I mean, I literally have seen the whole evolution of, we went from that to scanning documents to electronic signatures. Now I don't even see anybody until the closing table now. It's completely different, and it will change again. But guess what? Real estate agents are still here. As many times as I've heard, this is it. Real estate agents are never going to be needed again. Guess what? We don't disappear, because you do need us, because we know the market better than anybody. We know the contracts better than anybody. Nobody's going to protect you in that contract like a buyer's agent will when you're buying a house, and vice versa for the sellers. They represent you because they want to fight for every dollar, because that makes them feel good. It's like a big, giant game. Like when you represent somebody, it's like, I'm going to make sure that they get every penny they deserve. When you represent the seller, when you get the buyer, like, I'm going to make sure that they get the best deal ever, because you want them to come back. That's part of customer service. But you won't get that through a computer, because for a computer, it's just numbers and figures and AI. They don't understand the emotions of real estate. They don't understand the mentality of what you need to know. They don't understand the contract like we do. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. And then in that situation, right, if there are 2,000 agents and only 28 homes for sale, a lot of those agents are just going to go out of business. They don't have business. So
Debbie had to go and said, "Thank you, Kristina and guest."
Oh, thank you, Debbie.
It's Terry. It's Terry, the real estate guy. Terry, the real estate guy. Question: buy for $75,000K at 3% or $650K at 6.5%?
That's an easy one. It's $750 at 3%.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, in terms of if it's the lower payment, I believe the lower payment would be at $750K and 3%. And you'd pay more principal down, and you pay a lot less interest in the amortization schedule. So yeah, $750K at 3% would be a better deal all day long.
Say rates rise to 3.5 to 4%. And your expertise, how much percentage wise does the drop in home prices? I think if we start seeing fours, I think people are going to be like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to buy it.
Right.
And then those same people the next year, if it goes to 5%, go, I should have waited. I shouldn't have waited. I wish I'd have bought last year. So if you could afford a house and it's at 4% and you're not like financially strapping yourself, buy yourself a house. There's the perfect time is when you can afford it and you're comfortable in affording it.
Yeah, you just can't afford as much house,
Right.
That's the thing there.
Homes were purchased at 450 barely 3 years ago, and now the same homes are selling for 7. I know. Is that happening in Atlanta too?
Not they haven't doubled that, like that's almost doubled, right? But we don't see that much appreciation. We've probably seen 25% appreciation in the last 3 years.
Yeah. Like Austin has seen over 25% in some areas, and I think it's an average of 25%. Our area has just ticked up a little bit. I'm in a very small town outside of Baton Rouge, so I don't see the drasticness of some other areas. In Baton Rouge, there's been a little bit more. What I was really surprised. It isn't just one specific market, because last time we had, a housing boom and everything, it seemed to be a certain price point that was really moving quite quickly. Not the high end homes, but people with the high end homes are selling like crazy too. They've had to get, but they had to get more realistic, especially in our area, because they were like, well, I want $175,000 more than I paid last year. I'm like, you're not going to get that, buddy. And sure enough, you see them, they're like, price reduction, 60,000. I'm like, no, that wasn't a price reduction. That was like a total, you were trying to play people and thinking you're going to make a mint. Liar. All right, question. MK has a question. If you're on forbearance, will RE taxes be tacked on at the end of the mortgage?
Oh, I read something about that. I believe, I would check with
your payments adjusted. The payment is adjusted because you can't be behind on escrows. So what the banks have been covering people's escrows, but once you're off of forbearance, there's an adjustment to your payment, just like they would be for any adjustment in your escrows if they haven't, if there was like an increase into your insurance or taxes, and they adjust it. And that's going to be a problem for people that are living paycheck to paycheck, where they counted on their payments to be a certain amount of money. And now they're like, let's just say $150 more because they didn't pay extra escrows for a whole year last year. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but for those families, it's going to be a lot of money.
And that's why, if you have a government-backed loan or whatever it is, call your servicing provider and find out what is happening, because you can do loan mods. I mean, if you can do that loan modification and go from a 4% interest rate down to a 2.875% interest rate, I mean, for $1,300, why not do it? It's going to drop your payment massively. And a bunch of those reset to 30-year mortgages too. Like it's a complete reset, like a refi. It's unbelievable. Like when I started reading it, I couldn't believe it.
I'm going to look into that. That is really good for people. I mean, it helps alleviate some of my worry that I've had for the last 6 months about the housing crash. I was I was very concerned, especially for the most low income families. Of course, the rich are going to survive, but it's the low income families that I worry about the most.
Yeah, we're not going to see a housing crash, in my opinion. I've been saying that for a long time. Now, if it comes, it's going to come from some curveball I didn't even consider. I feel like rates will go up, inventory will build, and things will level off. But with all the stuff that's in the CARES Act and the government-backed loans trying to help people out, I don't see a housing crash in the near future.
I'm going to see that document so I can retract everything I've ever said in a video. Because I still say, because I really still believe that there's going to be a crash. I still believe that. Will it look like the nightmare, the bloodbath that it was after the 2007, 2008, 2009? No, but there's still going to be, we'll just say, an overcorrection may not be a crash in some people's eyes, but for the most disadvantaged, I believe it's going to be very painful.
Mm.
Question: looking into purchasing more property that has a foreclosed and fixed up and sell them. Should I use my equity in my existing property? Question: looking into purchasing more property that has a foreclosed and so basically they would want to flip it. Should they use the equity in their existing property in order to purchase those?
I have known people that have done it. I've done it myself. So it's just risky. You're taking.
It is a risk.
Yeah, it's definitely a risk.
Yeah, but that's how a lot of people have made a lot of money because they took the risk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Risk is the price you pay for reward.
Yeah, it's scary. But question: buy. We already did this one. Sorry. I must have popped up. What happens is the chat will pop up and then pop back down. So sometimes I end up reading the same.
Oh, he said, considering both payments are the same, which one is better in the long run and why? Oh, he added on to his question.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Where did I find it?
I want to pay down more principal, right? I mean, and you pay down more principal at $750. I mean, I could run that payment on the mortgage calculator. Considering both payments are the same, I don't know how they would be the same.
I don't know. Run on your handy dandy mortgage calculator. I can't do anything unless I have that. And remember the school teachers that said, you're never going to be walking around with a calculator in your hand all the time. And I always want to go back to that teacher and go, I always have a calculator in my pocket at all times. I don't even remember people's phone numbers anymore. I don't remember mathematical equations anymore because everything is right in my pocket. Question: have you seen people being able to buy a house without paying over appraisal this year? This year? No, I have not. Wait, no, my last buyer. Oh my God, I can't believe we had such a good seller. I was a little concerned that it wouldn't make appraisal. It made appraisal. It actually appraised for more. And so my buyer did not have to pay over appraisal. And the seller's actually fixing stuff in the house. And it's a first-time home buyer. Like, this girl, she got lucky. I'm like, you have just won the bidding war lottery because this never happens. What do you say, Terry?
Yeah, I mean, I think like if you I can't remember, I don't know if she means appraisal, paying over appraisal or over asking price maybe, but if it's over asking price, a lot of times if you find a really clean dated house that's doesn't have all the trendy appliances and paint colors and stuff, you don't have may not have as much competition for those as you do the nice new, beautiful HGTV houses out there.
Mm-hmm. Jailbot 2.0. I hope the interest rates shoot up to old school rates like 12%. This nonsense has to stop. It's destroying people's future by forcing so many people into a crash in their 401ks. It's also dangerous. But 12% interest rates are just as dangerous. Look at what happened in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you may not remember this, but there was this thing called assumable mortgages. And that's what people were doing. They were basically assuming the other people's mortgage because the interest rates were so high in order for them to get a brand new mortgage. They were like basically doing like two mortgages, almost like they would take their assumable, what they left owed on it, and then take a smaller loan out on what they were willing to pay for the house because the interest rates were so high. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and I wonder if we see that in a couple crises from now, right? Like if rates go up to 6%, 7%, 8%, if the government comes in and saves the day by saying, "Hey, you guys you can assume your mortgage now," or you have.
I don't think unless it goes to 10%. I don't think they're going to allow that.
And VA loans typically are assumable, right? If they go from
if another vet, yeah. Mm-hmm. Another vet buys it, they are assumable.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, tell us when the market is going to crash. Just kidding. Great info.
It would really help me if I knew.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting ready to retire and leaving Houston, and I'm moving to a small town in Louisiana. I hope it's Ascension Parish because that's where I live. I want to buy an 800 square foot cabin, and with the prices of lumber, I'm in fear of waiting any longer. I would price out your cabins as much as you can. I would see if there's any. I believe there's somebody in Lake Charles that makes cabins. Makes tiny home cabins. I would check with them. I would have somebody local build it instead of having like a kit made. Now, if you can have somebody build one on the site, I think that's going to be your best bet to get the most money out of it. But your lumber prices are going to be high. But Louisiana is the coolest state in the world. It's like a different country. Have you ever been here, Terry?
I have not. I used to watch Duck Dynasty. That's as close as I've come to Louisiana.
And that is not Louisiana. Like that's, I mean, that's one, like there's one, that's one like faction of Louisiana, but every single town, every single area that you go into Louisiana, they have their own dialect. They have their own food. I mean, they might have gumbo, but it's their own version of gumbo in that specific area. They might have jambalaya, but it's their version of jambalaya for that specific area.
Oh, that's
and,
cool.
It is cool. It's an adventure every time you go out in Louisiana, and the food is amazing. It's amazing. I'm not seeing any more questions. Oh, wait, we do have a question. And it's from a channel member, so we can't ignore a channel member. Question, is this a crazy seller's market, just a U.S. thing, or is this happening right now in other parts of the world? As far as I know, it is happening everywhere. Australia, Germany, UK. What are you seeing? I know Canada's going crazy too. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think in places where you have demand for housing, it's absolutely the same. I did, as a quick aside, I read on Apple News, there was this little, Italy has rapidly declining population, and these towns were giving away properties for 100 euros, like all fixed up if you just come and live there. And so I don't know. Did you see that article? It was really fascinating. And there's been a lot. It hit the mainstream press, and CNN did a thing on it. And anyway, I think they sold all the houses in like a week.
They also did that in Portugal as well.
Yeah, Portugal.
That's my favorite spot. I'm actually talking about Portugal in my next video.
That's funny. I was getting ready I have like a whole series of tabs on what happens if houses are worth nothing, right? Where can you find a house that's worth nothing and go live forever, and you'd like living there? And Italy and Portugal, right? Declining population. That's the problem.
Yeah. And they're well, if you're gonna have to watch my video this on Tuesday, but there's all sorts of different things, programs in these countries for expats, because they want to keep you there. They want your retirement money, and they even tax you a little bit different as far as property taxes. Some of them don't even take property taxes for 10 years, as long as you're getting your income and staying there for an extended period of time. But nice. Terry, I want to thank you so much for today. This has been really good. And I'm glad you're like, hey, I'm going to handle this like a boss. And you just took over the stream. I'm so impressed. Everybody, please give Terry a round of applause, because I am so excited that you've been here. And I hope we can do this again, because you've been an amazing guest. I appreciate you so much.
Having me. It's so fun.
Yes.
And getting to know you.
He's, I don't know if you guys know his channel, but he's Terry the Real Estate Guy. You're gonna go over to his channel. It's Terry the Real Estate Guy.
Good stuff.
He's not even from New England. I just like saying it that way. Terry the Real Estate Guy.
Sounds like you're from Brooklyn.
I don't know where I had this neighbor years ago, and she was just obnoxious, and she just kind of sounded like that. So I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna go over to a house and get a cup of sugar, ma. And she's like, stop doing that, Kristina. She's gonna hear you. And I'm like, okay, I won't do it anymore.
Oh, that was great. It was good being with you.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Next week, I have somebody coming on that's that you guys are going to really enjoy. He's in Montana, and he's going to be talking about what's going on that side of the country with housing prices in the housing market and his predictions of what he feels like is going to be happening in the future, especially in that side of the world, which I know nothing about. And Terry, I can't even thank you enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not
Thank you.
worthy.
I'm glad I could.
Wave.
Glad I could hear.
Yes. Wave goodbye to everybody.
See y'all.
Bye,
Be
everybody.
blessed. See ya.